Friday morning coffee. It was 4:35 a.m. and I had slept in, so I bounded out of bed and threw on the winter clothing before feeding Monty and getting the red kettle going. All night long, strange thoughts about this dark hole New Zealand was travelling through had engulfed my mind, with Winston Peters saying, "We wait for the evidence."
Wait till we get the evidence.
And Sir Ian Taylor writing, "It was brand management." And Ryan Bridge asking, "Do we know if they are stealing wine?"
Do we know that the majority of the food being stolen is food and not wine or high-value products that'll be on sold?
While Chris Bishop cackled how ram raids had declined, for your information. The sound of the red kettle rose to boiling point as I heaped the coffee into the plunger and looked at Monty tucking in, seemingly oblivious to the fact Luxon was marketing investment boost at a chip manufacturing company in Christchurch.
Great to be here at this chip tech company. It's exactly why we've invested in things like investment boost, bring back more money back home to New Zealand and obviously put that into the back pockets of Kiwis.
With the ill-fitting, incredibly fantastic ecstasy expression on his face as he told media it was good to be home.
Awesome to be back here at home.
And what about those Crusaders?
With the Crusaders, that fantastic win this season, amazing.
The water roars as it pours on the coffee, and I push down on the plunger as I recall Mr. Grabby grabbing world leaders for photo ops and Fran making headlines about how he shone. It was such a load of bullshit, and the smile on Luxon's face shifted to a pretend concern when media asked him about the floods. And Luxon said, "Mark Mitchell is leading our point guard."
And he'll be the one that runs our point guard
on that, and sometimes arrives on the spot before the event.
He's often down at events before they actually happen.
And how there was something we call a response before something we call a recovery.
Response and then what we call recovery.
Shit, I needed that coffee, and I decided to sin and use oat milk, which might raise my blood sugar according to YouTube, but I thought media was doing a goodish job of at least making Luxon look like a twat, which he does all by himself. If you let him talk long enough on cameras, just look at that presser where he discriminated against Claudette.
Why is the Crown not clear on that?
So Claudette, in fairness, for a press conference to work, we need to take turns, right? That's how it works. And so I will come back and answer your question in a minute, and you can ask the question again. Sorry, I just said to you...
No, I'm sorry, Prime Minister, but on that, why then do part-time Māori have to take a back seat? I'm just the same as every other journalist.
Over 8 minutes, and then rejected her question. That induced swear words, and rightly so. I carried the coffee to the G News office and sat in the dark under the harsh LED light of a lamp shining on the keys, like I do 7 days a week. And I noted that there were only 28 actions in the coming quarter from the quarterly bullshit plan, a corporate calendar that included things like start legislation and progress legislation and unleashing rules for open banking and laughably reversing the ban on offshore exploration for oil and gas. Oh my God. Talk about dressing up business as usual as if it were super important. The hype was bollocks. That was like a bad TV ad playing in an endless loop, and I figured I'd better type something more interesting. So I started to relate how, A, the Bishop of Habsburg had taken to his Facebook and written that the next PM, Chris Hipkins, had told Newscrap ZB that ram raids were still happening, and answering why we don't hear about them anymore.
No, it's because your Tory owners at NZME have just decided not to put it on the front page anymore. It's still happening. It's just NZME have decided that it's not in the government's best interests, and they do the National Party's singing for them, so they're not covering it as much.
Which was all perfectly true. But Bishop had written that ram raids had declined from 714 in 2022 to 495 in 2023, to 2009 in 2024, and only 45 so far in 2025. That meant a sea of jilted Jacinda haters felt National had actually done something good here, and Hipkins, who they called Napkins, was caught lying. But here are the real facts. 1. On the strike of midnight, on election night, The constant TVNZ1 News and NZ Herald front page coverage of ram raids we all witnessed in the months leading up to the election suddenly ceased, and it did not re-emerge for at least 3 months. 2. The downward trajectory was already in sharp decline before National won on election night. And so this decline had nothing to do with soft on crime or any other myth swallowed by peanut-brained Jacinda haters. 3. Ram raids were and still are happening, but they are no longer on the front page because they have reduced and are not considered a hot potato for clicks anymore. 4. NZME has sold up to their Tory owners, and when was the last positive headline or fair treatment you saw there that promoted the left bloc political parties? Monty began to cry outside the G News office door, so I had to tend to his needs while next door Vicky was still asleep. And soon I would wake her up and whisper, "Yes, please," which would elicit a response of,
"Yes, please."
Meaning she wanted her coffee in a black cup, black saucer, 3 vitamins or whatever they were. And I would do this task every day. It's part of being a husband. We're still in a state of flux. Tire kickers were wasting the time of the owners who were trying to sell at the gourmet food shop. And I cross my fingers for some more help today because we fall off a financial cliff soon if it doesn't come. Thanks so much for your support yesterday. I'll put my details in the end of this video. For another day of work begins at the gourmet food shop. I'll actually go for a morning walk. So we need to lift the darkness that is all upon us over the sick joke of a government who has made things so much worse, increased poverty, punched down on beneficiaries, attacked Te Tiriti, gutted our public services, made healthcare more expensive and worsened our climate adaptation, while we all get flooded and Luxon is busy trying to win back cost of living points and reacting to crime as meth fills the wastewater. Vote these Tory libertarian populist losers out, New Zealand.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Friday morning coffee.